welcome to all the students who are joining us today. We're really excited to be kicking off our second annual student competition, which we're calling Presenting Research in Compelling Ways. This year's event is going to take place at AcademyHealth's annual research meeting, which will be held June 14th through the 16th in Minneapolis. My name is Lauren Radomski. I'm a senior manager at AcademyHealth. I work on our Translation and Dissemination Institute, and we're pretty excited because today is our first Google Hangout here at AcademyHealth. So in the case that we experience any kind of technical glitches here, we ask that you bear with us. Fortunately, we are going to be repeating all of the key information from today's chat at the end of the conversation. So if you missed anything along the way, we'll be recapping there. So with that, let's get started. I'm excited to be co-hosting today with Dr. Felicia Mebane, who is a member of AcademyHealth's Translation and Communications Interest Group. Dr. Mebane also moderated last year's competition, and she'll be moderating this year as well.
Hi, Lauren. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So, as Lauren said, I'm Dr. Felicia Mebane, and I'm a public health communications consultant with Mebane Media Communications. I'm also an adjunct professor in health policy at the UNC Gillings School of Global Public Health, and I was a dean of students at UNC Gillings for about 6 years. So I have a lot of experience supporting students, and I'm really excited to work on this event again this year. So I'm going to cover 3 types of things today. I'm going to set everything up by talking a little bit about what we did last year and sort of why we set up this competition. I'm going to set up some announcements that we have for this year and then start with on some of the logistics. And then I'm going to turn it over to Lauren to finish up with logistics, and then we'll open it up for the real Q&A or the chat part of this hangout. So as Lauren mentioned, I am a member of AcademyHealth's Translation and Communications Interest Group. And one of the things that we do is to try to think about how to encourage all of AcademyHealth's members to be creative about the way that they present their work and their research. And from my experience, we also know that many of you students are some of our most tech-savvy members, as well as sort of up on the latest, most creative ways to present things. So we thought this combination would be really great. So what we did last year in 2014, which was the first year of this competition, is we asked the students to submit a traditional abstract. As you know, the sections, methods, and all of that. And we had a traditional review committee of people who were experts in translation and communications and quality and value, because those were the 2 interest groups that sponsored the event, to review the applications. The experts chose the top 5 finalists, and those were the folks who presented in the special session at the ARM last year in San Diego. The presentation last year, the presenters were required to use something called Pechakucha or Pachakata, or however you pronounce it. Basically, it's a style of presenting that focuses on visual, on graphics, on video, instead of on lots of text and lots of tables. So we asked the students also to present in under 21 slides and also up to 7 minutes, which, as you can imagine, was a challenge. We had a panel of judges, which included a student who chose the top 3 presenters who won cash prizes. And it was a really fabulous event that was well received. The presentations of all 5 finalists were informative and inspiring. And while the judges were deliberating, we had some really great conversations about the use of creative styles and also how the students prepared for the event. I had the fortune of talking to our winner recently, Tingying Huang, who's a doctoral student in pharmacy at the University of Maryland, and she was gracious enough to tape an interview with me. And so I encourage you, if you're interested in this competition or not, if you just want to hear about what she did, to check out her interview on AcademyHealth's YouTube site, which I think there's a link to in the showcase part of this hangout. Okay, so that's part 1. This year, we sort of thought about what we did last year and decided here are the best things we want to keep, and then here's some things we want to update. So we have some announcements about that. They're very exciting. So the first new feature is we thought, well, what would be a way to focus even more on the presentation? Well, one way to do that is to ask the students to present on the same article. And so we sort of conferred with colleagues at Academy Health as well as in the field, and we thought, well, we should pick a prominent article that's relatively recently printed. So in our first announcement, drum roll please, we are going to ask the competitors this year to present on the 2013 HSR Journal Article of the Year titled Plan Provider Integration, Premiums and Quality in the Medicare Advantage Market, which is exciting, but also maybe perhaps daunting because it does focus on economic and health policy principles. And what the finalists will have to do is to both demonstrate an understanding of the concepts of the article and the results, as well as to be creative and compelling. So if you're not as familiar with economics, or you think that's a challenge, please don't worry, because we invite everybody to participate. And because we recognize that everybody's not studying economics as their major focus, we do think it's okay for you to consult with other people if you have questions about the content of the article to understand it. So you can talk to your professors, you can talk to other students to understand the concepts, but we are asking that your application and your presentation be all you. So we think that's a good compromise or a way for people to be able to focus on the same topic, but also to give us really compelling and creative articles. So the second new feature that we have for this year is instead of requiring everybody to present using Pecha Kucha, we're going to let you pick your own style. And we're very excited to see what you guys come up with. So you can use Pecha Kucha if you want to. You can use Shark Tank. You can use, whatever style you have for getting that information across in an accessible way. You can also decide what tool you want to use, whether you want to use PowerPoint or Prezi, you want to sing a song, whatever you want to do. That'll be awesome, and we look forward to seeing that from our finalists. Similar to last year, we expect that folks will use storytelling tools or different ways that people tell or convey information. So you can use drama, you can use humor, you can use audio-visual materials, you can make it into a personal story, wherever you think will work for you and will allow you to get the information across in a way that fits best. But there will be a time limit for our finalists, so you have to keep that in mind as well. So in sum, we're looking for your unique way of presenting the major concepts and content of this one particular article in a way that's accessible to a general audience. So whether it's journalists, policymakers, but also your aunt or your cousin or whatever, we want the finalists to think about that as well. Okay, so that was part 2. Part 3, some logistics. Any student member of Academy Health is welcome to submit an application to compete in this competition. So whether you're a full-time student, part-time student, whether you're training in economics or administration or political analysis, which was my background in training in health policy, you're all welcome to submit an application. Master's students, doctoral student, undergraduate, all student members. The application, which will be available online, is going to have 2 parts. So it'll have the regular part where you put in your name and your faculty advisor and all that. But the main part is going to be a creative abstract. So we're asking you to put together in under 500 words an abstract that will sort of summarize or capture the main points of the article. Now the difference between this and the presentation is you will not be able to use graphics, audio-visual, or any of that. You can only use words. So we're looking for your understanding of the article in combination with how you can describe it using words. Now you can use section categories like an abstract, intro, methods, conclusion, but those words do count in the word count. But you don't have to use section titles. So we expect everyone to follow these criteria, otherwise your application will not be reviewed. And you have to email your application to Academy Health no later than 11:59 Eastern Time on March 11, 2015. I have to look at my notes because I want to make sure I get that part right. So you have a little over a month to review the article and get your creative ideas together. Also, what you put in your abstract could be the basis of your presentation, but it doesn't have to be. So you can think about how you would write it out, but then you could also, if you're a finalist, think about other ways to present the information. A selection committee will review the applications, and we will announce the finalists on April 8th, 2015, which will again give the finalists plenty of time to work on their final presentation. And once the finalists are chosen, we will work with them with more specific instructions, including more information about how they will be judged, which will be a combination of on the research content, because again, it's important to convey the research concepts, but also about the creativity of their presentation, how accessible it is, the clarity of the presentation, and also the impact of the presentation on the audience. The competition will be held this year in another special ARM session at the meeting in Minneapolis on Monday, June 15th, which again is really exciting. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren now, again, to give you a little more logistics, including on the judges and the prizes, and also how you can get this specific information, and just in case you missed something.
Great, thanks. Now, before I mention the judges, I just wanted to encourage you, if you have any questions about the information that Dr. Mebane has mentioned or anything else that's come to mind, we encourage you to use the Q&A feature to send those to us, and we're happy to answer those as best we can as we get towards the end of the chat today. In terms of the judges, this year's panel will include Dr. Austin Fracht, who is the lead author on the study that's been chosen for this year's competition. He'll be joined by Dr. Patrick Romano, who is co-editor at the journal Health Services Research. Also on the panel will be Dr. Lynn Blewett, who's a professor at the University of Minnesota School of Public Health, and Dr. Blewett is also a past chair of the AcademyHealth board. We're still filling a couple of spots on our judging panel, but we know that one of those spots will belong to a student. We had a student on last year's judging panel and felt it was just a really great contribution. And also in another new feature, we are going to be kind of counting votes from folks who are live tweeting in attendance at the competition. So those tweet votes will count as one judge and will only count from those folks who are actually at the competition watching live. In terms of the prizes, we will be awarding a $500 cash prize to the first place competitor, and we'll also have cash prizes for the second and third place winners. As we kind of start to head towards wrapping up, I just want to make sure that in case you missed a detail or two from today's conversation, you know where you can find out more. Right after we wrap up today, this Hangout is going to be available on AcademyHealth's YouTube channel. In addition, you can also check out a website that we've created specifically for the student competition. If you look in the showcase section of your screen, you'll see our main annual research meeting website. If you go there, you'll be able to see the specific area for the student competition. We have a bunch of information there, including access to an application, and we're continuing to develop it so that in the near future we hope to have a frequently asked questions section. We're getting some resources up there about different kinds of presentation styles and tools you might consider checking out, so be sure to visit our website for more information. Like we mentioned earlier, we are really excited about this competition. We hope you are as well. And at this point, Dr. Mebane and I are happy to take any questions you might have. Well, I'm happy to start us off with a question. I attended last year's competition, and we saw really a number of great presentations. Dr. Mebane, from what you saw last year, were there things that the competitors did really well, other kind of tips that you might offer students as they're getting ready for this year?
Sure, and I encourage everyone again to watch Tinying's video because she makes some really great points in terms of preparation, especially from a student's perspective. So a couple of things that students might consider. This is very different than a traditional sort of research presentation. So we do encourage you to be as creative as possible. Like, we're looking for interesting ways that you can present this abstract so that you can get to the final stage. And then when you get to be a finalist, for you to present. So that's one thing, is to have fun and be creative. On the other hand, you do want to be sure to follow all of the instructions, so you do need to be sure to convey something about the research as well. Also, I think one thing that Tin Ying had mentioned is she did some research about different styles and thought about sort of, how she could best use the Pecha Kucha last year. And so, you should really think about your own style and what works well for you. So if you're a singer, or a storyteller, you can sort of use those. If you're better with infographics or graphics, then you might want to focus on that. So I think, sort of matching the tool with what works best for you, as well as capturing, all the main points of the article and being creative are some of the things that students can think about as they start, this process of developing their abstract.
Great, great. That's really helpful.
Well, I have something that I thought students might think about, because we had debated whether or not it would work picking one article instead of letting the students do their own research. And part of the thought process on that is that we thought, well, even people who are learning economics for the first time or just recently had economics and health policy can come up with creative ways to present what they studied. So you don't have to be an economist or about to be an economist, I think, to be successful in this competition. So we hope that people won't be, will still be interested, even if they think that might be a little bit of a hurdle. Because sometimes as you're learning things, you can be even more creative about the way that you present them. So, and also one thing to think about is we're hoping to be able to do this over several years, and so we'll be sure to pick articles that have other, focus, so it's not just economics every time.
Sure. I guess I just wanted to make a quick mention that, as Dr. Mebane mentioned, we ask that competitors be student members of Academy Health. If you're not a member, we have a lot of information online about kind of what that entails. The cost is $40, so pretty manageable. We hope that if you have questions about that, feel free to check out our website. We also have some contact information there, or if you have a specific question that we can't answer today, just email us and we're happy to get right back to you.
So another question that students might have for this type of competition is sort of paying to get here, right? Maybe you haven't really planned to attend the conference, but this might be something that would get you here. So as a former Dean of Students and professor in health policy, I know that you can ask your program directors or your faculty advisor about resources that help support students to attend conferences. Even some grants have training opportunities. And so I feel that this might be framed as a training opportunity because you are developing a skill or developing an approach that you can definitely use in other parts of your career. And that's something that Tin Ying mentioned in her interview. So if you had not planned to come and you're worried about finances, be sure to talk to your program and see what resources they have to help students to travel to conferences, especially to present. So this is sort of like an abstract presentation in terms of the value that it has and whether or not it can be funded, I think, by some of those resources that support students to travel. And it's worthwhile to come to these conferences as a student because there are great networking opportunities, educational opportunities, and it can be fun too. So we hope that if you have any concerns about that, you'll ask questions about how you might frame that or present that on the website, so we can help you with that too. Not paying to get here necessarily, but we can help you think of ideas or ways to make an argument for how your programs or other resources can help you get to the conference.
That's great. Well, were there any kind of final thoughts that you wanted to share, Dr. Mebane, as we maybe start to wrap up here today?
Well, sure. So even if you're not watching this live, we hope that you'll get excited about this competition and that you'll submit an application. Again, watch Tin Ying's interview because she and the other students who were finalists definitely thought that this experience was worthwhile. Even if you're not a finalist, we hope you'll come and watch the competition, introduce yourself to me, introduce yourself to Lauren and some other folks at Academy Health. We'd love to meet you, and hopefully you can be there, because again, we had some really great discussions after the presentations last year, and so I think just being involved in that way could also be worthwhile. So we hope if you're not a member of Academy Health, you will join. It's only $40 for student members, which is a really great deal. And again, you can take advantage of competitions like this, as well as networking opportunities. You can just try it out and see if it's worthwhile, and I think it probably will be, so I hope that you will. So again, thanks everybody for tuning in or watching this video, and I look forward to working with as many of you as possible.
Great. Thanks so much, Dr. Mebane, and thanks to everyone who has joined us today. As we mentioned, feel free to reach out to us with any questions, and we look forward to seeing you in June.